Now, I told you that 348 teardown video was going to be a good one, even though it wasn't a 409.
Not everyone could have a 409. Some people have to settle for a 348.
And in the case of this customer, he already has a 409 that you built about 10 years ago. And actually, when we're done with this one, doing the stroker kit, it'll actually be more cubic inches than the 409 that we built for him. So at a later video in the series, we're going to get out to his place and kind of talk to him about his cars and everything that he's already got. But I wanted to do an update video because did you see any comments that were able to tell why that piston broke? I think I saw maybe one.
We had so many comments. I always try to read the comments. Every morning I get up when I'm eating breakfast, I go through and read comments. And there were so many that I have not been able to keep up with them. So I apologize to people and
for not reading them all.
Yeah, for not getting them all read and keep making comments. But no, I did not see any comment that nailed what we think caused this.
So a lot of people, well, first of all, they're like, oh, it's the wrong piston. Well, the part number, this is the right piston for a 348. So it's
just a different manufacturer.
It's just different manufacturer. And they look at these two next to each other, and the skirt design is a little bit different, but I think it still clears the crankshaft. I don't think that was the problem.
We had mentioned that you could see a mark here where it had hit the crank. Right across there has hit the crank. But I think that's because the piston was rocking so much in the cylinder that it let it make contact with the crank.
But that was kind of our initial assumption too, was like, oh, there's something weird here that it hit the crank and broke. But your buddy down there at EPW, Dave, he shot you an email.
He shot me an email right away. He had seen this happen, maybe experienced it happening.
Okay.
I know I've experienced that happening before.
Again, we don't know for sure.
We don't know for sure, but this is the best explanation we can come up with. This piston, when they replaced it the last time, they pressed the pin into the rod instead of heating the rod in an oven the way we do it nowadays. Back in the day, Sonnen, in fact, I still think there's a lot of them around, had a complete kit. There was this big board on the wall that had all kinds of different adapters and tooling to be able to press the pins into the rods. And this one you can see around here where there's marks where they pressed on it. And there's also a little mark right here where they got up on the skirt portion of the piston instead of on the boss around the pin. And Dave pointed out, and I agree with him, they probably cracked this piston when they put it on the rod when that piston was brand new and they were doing the overhaul on this engine. And they put it in and it ran for a long, long time, but it did finally let go. And there's another little crack right across the side here.
Put the die on it, and let's do that so we can see. Nowadays, I would say when pistons are listed as press fit is almost not really the right term because we don't use a press to install it. It's an interference fit.
Yeah, they should use the terminology interference fit. So we're going to spray a little bit of that dye on there, and I'm just going to leave it here maybe for a minute while we talk.
Okay, so it's been about a minute.
Yeah, been just a little over a minute here with the dye soaking on there. And you can already see a little line there where the dye is soaking into the imperfection in the piston. So I'm just going to wipe that off. And you can already see, I'm not even having put the developer on here, that dye has soaked into that crack. And as soon as I start wiggling that,
starts coming back out.
Yeah, the line shows up again. But the idea of this is you clean that off. They do have a special cleaner here that you can use to spray on there and wipe it off, but this surface is smooth enough that I'm able to do it with a rag. And then their developer, I don't know exactly what it is. I've always called it talcum powder. It's just a white powder. And when you spray that white powder on there, it will attract the dye back up out of the crack.
You can see it working.
Yeah. Yeah, as that dries, it really starts pulling.
Yeah. So again, who knows? Maybe that crack came after the damage. We could be completely wrong still, but I think Dave was onto it. That I think they pressed on the
I think
piston.
when they got their tooling up on this edge where it left that little mark, it distorted the bottom of the skirt there and probably started a crack over in this area, you know, this one and maybe some more over here. And
that's what let go.
Yeah, it ran for quite a while, but it finally let go.
So I've seen some comments before in our videos that people kind of think that we're not very pro DIY, but I think we just have lines of like, there are things that we know a DIY guy can do. There's some things that they really shouldn't do.
Right.
Installing press fit pistons is one of the things where we see a lot of DIY guys screw it up.
I always liked it when the guys said, when I was selling an engine kit, and they said, we're going to put our own pistons on, because I knew I was going to get to sell 2 sets of pistons instead of 1. Plus, I would still get to do the install when they brought the broken set back.
Yeah. We're not picking on anybody. It's just that's the
reality.
truth of what we've seen.
Yeah.
If you don't have the proper jig set up to press on pistons,
or you don't use it right.
Yeah. As soon as you start pressing on this piston in this direction, it's not designed for that.
No.
It will distort and it will break.
Yeah.
Now the jig we have here has various different
the adapters,
pieces in them, that the way this actually works is instead of pressing on the piston itself, it's supporting the bottom side of that connecting rod.
The rod's going to get tight in here, but the piston still floats free.
Yeah.
So there's no pressure at all on the piston itself.
So just as an example to show what not to do, this is the way that we press a pin out when we're not planning on trying to save the pistons. When we're pressing these off, I'm just letting the piston support itself right there on the base plate there of the press and going down in. And it may not look like pressing on the piston that way did any damage to it. I mean, obviously it's damaged from what happened inside the engine the last time this was running, but there's a good chance that it has gotten distorted. We've had situations where customers, you know, maybe they put a rod on backwards, or maybe we put a rod on backwards.
We put a rod on backwards? It doesn't have to be a customer. We've done that too.
Yeah, and now it's like, okay, you have to save this, you know, piston. You don't want to break the piston trying to press it off, but you got to get it off to put the rod back on the right way. So that's mainly where we use this jig. I suppose there's places out there that use a jig like this to install them rather than using heat. But regardless, this setup is not cheap.
No.
And honestly, it's not that good of a tool.
Well, that's it. It still leaves a lot to be desired, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Way better than nothing.
We've got pressure on this right now, and the rod is tight because it's pressing against the rod, but that piston is completely free. So realistically, there's no force going through that piston right now.
No.
So it should not be distorting. So go ahead and see if you can press that a little farther, or
there it goes.
just pop free.
And
it's a little tight.
Yeah, it's a little tight. Even with this fixture here, it's putting a little pressure on there. Let's see if we can reposition it just a little bit, make it any better. Yeah, because we start out, no pressure on it, it's free, and we start pushing, and it starts putting a little pressure on it. It's not bad, I can still move it. But
if you were supporting the piston,
if I was supporting the piston on the side of the piston and pressing that rod into it, even if I had good support, it would still distort the metal where that rod is pushing against the piston, because it's such a small surface area between the side of the rod and the side of the piston.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll still move, but I don't like it.
that's kind of how we tell when we're using it, is you kind of rock the piston as you're, usually we're on the other press, so you're not having to press with your hand there.
Right. Now I've probably pressed down far enough, I've come out of one side of the piston here.
And now it's free. Completely free.
Yeah.
Can you imagine doing every single one like that?
That's how we used to do it before we got that hydraulic, air over hydraulic press. The other thing that can happen is sometimes they'll start galling just a little bit, transferring some metal, and that one didn't. It came out nice. But that's the way it was done before the heat method became popular.
Yeah. To the people who are doing DIY stuff, is just know your limits.
Yeah, we don't have a problem with the guys doing all they can themselves, but know your limits and stop before you get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, and pay attention. I mean, they had to know that they had kind of messed up the piston.
I would have thought so. Not that I have ever done that, but when you start pressing one like that, usually you'll hear a little pink, and you're like, crap, I just cracked the piston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This actually works really well for demonstration purposes because we have a cutaway piston to kind of show this. You commented that this is not the style of tool that you think that was done.
No.
And I don't know if I'd be able to find any pictures of the Sunnin style
I'll bet
tool.
If you look around, you'll find a picture.
The point is, to press them on correctly, you need to have some kind of tool that is designed to do this.
Yeah.
This one is a cool tool because it's designed to support, right on the rod. We have different little clips or whatever adapters you want to call them for different size
shapes
pins.
And sizes.
The problem with it is there's so little, on most piston designs, there's so little room here that these clips have to be really, really thin, and it takes a lot of force to get a piston through there. But just to kind of showcase this again, it just goes in about like that.
It's against the rod itself, transferred down rather than through the
piston.
Going through the piston.
So not many people thought of that, but
and the only reason Dave thought about that is because he's been there, done that.
Okay, now the next thing, we hadn't really cleaned up this. Well, we had cleaned up the block, but we hadn't really done any inspection. Grab the bore gauge out of the drawer there. I went through and I did a pretty thorough Magnaflux on it. I did not see any cracks, so the next thing we were doing is trying to get an idea of, okay, what's this thing gonna clean up at? Because we have number 2 cylinder here with a decent amount of rust. We just know from experience when a cylinder looks like that with rust, it needs a sleeve. Yeah. You can bore it 60 over and it might still have rust.
60 over and you start looking at it and there's still dark spots where the rust as a cancer has eaten into the material.
But we started getting, okay, how much wear does this thing have? Where will it clean up? So
let's just do a random cylinder here. If that's standard, down in the bottom where it's not worn, and I start coming up, and I get a little closer to the top here to where I'm right under the ridge. So there's 25 thousandths.
25 thousandths wear, so pretty slim chance of it cleaning at 30.
That would clean at 30 because cylinders never wear exactly evenly all the way around. And once we put the boring bar on there and straighten it up again, it'll probably take, I'm guessing this thing's gonna have to go 40.
Yeah. There's a very slim chance it'll clean at 30. Now this is the cylinder that had that screwed up piston in there, which we know because that was an aftermarket piston, there was obviously something wrong in this cylinder in the previous life.
Yeah.
And then obviously
and we have no idea, no way of knowing what that is. But I start down here at the bottom, there's your standard size, and I start coming up out of there. I get up here at the top, there's 40 thousandths, 35 thousandths. Yeah, there's 35 plus.
So that cylinder probably will not even clean at 40.
Probably not.
So that leaves you with 2 options. Put a sleeve in this cylinder and bore the entire thing to 60. And then if down the road they ever want to do this engine again, your option is going to, because I don't think they make 80
probably not
on these. your option is going to be new sleeve in this cylinder plus sleeving the other 7, which is a crazy amount of money and work. Or our next option, sleeve, and bore it to 40.
Yeah.
Or try to bore it to 30.
Yeah, we can try to bore it to 30.
But it's probably not going to make it.
But I doubt that will happen. I doubt it'll clean up, but that still gives the option to go to 40.
Yeah.
And then if we can clean at 40, we've left the cylinder walls a little bit thicker, because as old as this block is, there's going to be rust on the backside trying to make its way into the cylinder wall. So I'd like to keep them as thick as we possibly can. Plus, if we go to 40 and clean it up, we have the option of going to 60 if something happens down the road. Highly unlikely that this engine will ever be run enough
to ever be rebuilt again.
Yeah, but there's always a chance that somebody drops a washer down the carburetor and
yeah, don't say that.
And there's people out there that are going to say, well, just take the 60 and only put, well, don't put any sleeves in.
Yeah, just try to take it to 60.
But 60 is not going to clean this rust, and you probably can't see it, but at the end of my finger here, there is a big old huge pit in the side of that cylinder wall where the rust, for some reason, just really ate in.
Yeah, and I remember showing, I think it was on the Mopar that I did last year. I remember when I bored it, it had water pitting or rust pitting from having water sit in it. And it was to the point where it was almost cleaned up. But if you took a pick and kind of picked at those shadow areas, the metal was just, there was like nothing there. Just a soft spot.
Yeah.
So that's why we sleeve a cylinder like that.
What's that?
What the heck? What kind of spider is that?
I don't know, but he's stuck on my hand. Now he's in the block.
That's a creepy looking spider, dude.
I was just up working on the sprinkler in the field. I must have brought back a pet with me. Some kind of green corn spider. That'll slow him down.
Grab the lighter. Anyway, so I ordered a crankshaft. I ordered connecting rods.
Well, we've got some of that here already.
Yeah.
Customer brought us the heads.
Starting next week, we're going to be doing the machine work on this. We've been dealing with a bunch of other customer stuff that isn't really video stuff the last week or two here, trying to get some jobs out through the door. But we wanted to give a little bit of an update since we found why that piston broke, too.
I would like to see you get far enough to where you can get a set of pistons ordered for it.
Yeah, I would like to get them ordered, too. It'd be nice to have all the block work pretty well done on this, but that's all we've got for this week. Show them my shirt, since I actually have the shirt this time.
So here's the shirt that we've had done in honor of the W Series.
So it's just our little logo on the front. And it's pretty detailed.
Yeah, pretty detailed drawing of this engine on the back. And anyway, go to the website, order yourself up one.
We guilted people into buying one for your birthday, and then I guess I did buy dinner last night for you and Mom.
Yeah,
so.
And you said I had to put half of it on my tab on what I owe you.
Well,
Nicholas ordered fish for the pond. Made me pay for half of them.
you said you would pay for half of them for your granddaughter. It wasn't for me. Anyway, stay tuned because we'll have more on this next week.
Okay, see you later.